Have you ever tried to salvage a losing trade? Watching the chart bleed and trying to figure out how can you make the loss disappear? And every solution you came up with just made it worse. It's like mission impossible. If you wonder why you cannot win this battle, no matter how hard you try, stay tuned. You are listening to the Confidence in Trading podcast. I am your host, Agnieszka Wood, a trading mindset coach and a seasoned day trader with over a decade of experience. If you are new to my show, don't forget to subscribe so you can come back for the next episode. In this podcast, we explore the fascinating world of psychology and the human element of trading. We take a deep dive into different perspectives to inspire you and help you navigate the emotional ups and downs of trading with self-compassion and confidence. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, this podcast is your trusted companion providing support on your trading journey. Get ready to boost your confidence and unlock the secrets to mastering your mindset for success. Welcome to episode number 31, Turning a Losing Trade into Profit. I cannot tell you how many times I got stuck in a losing trade, praying and hoping it would turn in my favor. It was, in fact, one of my biggest challenges to overcome when I started trading. It was that very thing that got me stuck in a losing cycle for 2 years and prevented me from making consistent profit and growing my account. On a daily basis, I talk now to traders who struggle with the same thing as I did, and I know that it is not always easy to see how we are standing in our own way. So today I want to talk about three methods that I was using back then to turn losing trades around. My intention here is to show you why, even though at that time those seemed like brilliant ideas, they simply don't work. And maybe you will recognize yourself in the ways I was using in my trading, understand why they were totally ineffective, and start exploring much better alternatives. After losing for an extended period of time, I was so tired of losing. And all I could think of was, how can I make my losses back? I was looking at my P&L that at that point dipped below 30K, and I knew that with the speed that my account was diminishing and the commissions, I had probably just a few more days before I hit the PDT rule, meaning I will not be able to day trade. I'm talking about the year 2014, 15, and with the way that I was trading, I was paying a minimum couple of thousands on commissions per month. And for those of you who are not familiar with the PDT rule, it's when you go under 25K here in the US and you get flagged by a broker as a pattern day trader. Then you are allowed to make only 3 day trades per week until you fill up your account back of 25. So I was absolutely terrified to take another loss. All I was focused on was trying to regain my losses from previous day. So I was chasing losses. I would take impulsive trades, following some tips from Twitter or a chat room, sometimes just flipping through charts and chasing the move that already happened, or simply enter a trade in anticipation of a breakout that never happened. I was hoping to make a quick gain, so I would talk myself into a huge size, thinking I just need a small move and I can have a huge win. Of course, that scenario looked very good in my head, but in reality, I had no plan and I could not handle a single tick in the opposite direction. So when the price didn't go my way, I would jump out and take another big loss. What I understood later, but what I couldn't see at that time, was that I didn't really want to accept a loss. Going even further, I never accepted the risk to start with. When I was entering the trade, I knew I could lose on it, but I didn't agree to it. So when it came to taking the loss and getting stopped out, I felt, but this shouldn't be this way. And I immediately looked for another opportunity to recover. And mind you, I wasn't looking for another good trading opportunity with a high probability setup. I wasn't making a sound plan. At that time, this kind of description wasn't even in my trading vocabulary. I just wanted to regain my lost capital, that's all. As a consequence, I was amplifying my losses by risking more than planned and by entering positions without a clear strategy. My judgment was totally clouded by my fear, and I was making totally irrational decisions. I felt under a huge pressure, and the stress level was unbearable. I was making it impossible for myself to think straight. After a while, this behavior eroded my confidence in my ability to make profitable trades, and it also made me believe that somehow the market was rigged against me. I was taking it all very personally. All by all, it had a very negative effect, not just on my trading account, but mostly on my psyche. So at some point, I figured that I cannot keep taking losses all the time, especially that sometimes the price would reverse and all I was left with was a loss and a bitter taste. If you're trading for a while, you must have experienced frequently that after getting stopped out and taking the loss, price may reverse and go in your direction. That happens. Now I know it's okay, and it's not a reason to get angry or do stupid stuff. But at that time, that was different. It happened so many times, and I started telling myself that the loss I took was for nothing. And as a consequence of such thinking, I decided to not get out with a loss but wait for a reversal and simply add on the way down. What a brilliant idea, I thought. This way I can make even more money when it reverses. Adding to a losing position was a strategy that at some point I've learned in one of the chat rooms that was trading reversals, and that was on highly extended stocks. The idea was to start the position on the front before the reversal happens, and if you were too early, you just started adding size. So every time I added, I was supposed to double my current size. So when I decided to add to my losers, I was actually pretty proud of myself because I was using a legit strategy, I thought. Of course, this was a huge lie because doubling down, that is adding to a trade that is already losing money, and doing it without a plan is not a strategy. It was madness. But thinking like this made me feel better. Now, let's be clear. Adding size, even at the front side of the trade, might work if you have a clear plan. But first of all, I had no plan. Then I was starting out with a big position. And on top of that, I had not enough money on my account to follow through. So while I felt pretty confident at first that the trade was going to work, that the market was going to turn my favor somehow, I just threw money at it, only to get stuck in a large losing position, waiting for a reversal that never happened. Eventually, the pain point and the risk of getting a margin call was so high that I would get out with another huge loss. This method of doubling down worked maybe a couple of times, and silly enough, that was enough evidence for me to hang on to it. So I would bring those lucky instances as a proof to my attention that this will work. However, most of the time, I ended up crying and swearing while selling the whole darn position. Sometimes I would get very creative. When I was not able to add more shares due to my limited capital, while the price was still moving against me, I would sell half of the position. Then I would tell myself that as soon as I spot the reversal, I will buy it back and average down my price. So I talked myself into staying in the losing position, picturing a rosy scenario where I still somehow would not only recover my loss, but even make some profit. But a few hours later, I was so desperate, seeing that now my loss on half of the position was twice as big as the loss I took earlier on the same number of shares. I simply had no emotional capital left in me, and I was not able to make any rational decision. And even when the reversal finally happened, I was not in a position to add. I was only praying that the price would go at least a little higher so I would not have to take such a big loss. All I wanted was to end my suffering. Doubling down, even though the original plan always sounded very attractive to me, more shares, I will make more money. It never worked out. Because by the time the price got to my level, I was either out with a loss already, or I was so depleted emotionally that all I wanted was to take either a small loss or to get out break even. If I got out break even, I would celebrate. So why was I doing it, you might ask? Looking back, even telling this story right now to you, it sounds to me like something that was a pretty stupid thing to do. But I can tell you that at that moment when it happened, I was so driven to prove that I can do it, that my decisions were right, that I'm getting it. I really wanted it to work. And yes, I was stubborn. But being stubborn brought me so much success in my life that I simply did not consider that being stubborn might not be a good thing in trading. So I was pushing and I really was trying very hard. And the harder I tried, the more the market was pushing back. And the more frustrated I was getting. And as a consequence, I would make even more irrational decisions, undermine my risk management rules and my trading rules overall, completely derailing myself from the path to my goal of trading for a living. That's when I started noticing the impact of the emotional distress on my well being. What do you do when you don't know what to do? Logically, you would say you do nothing, right? Because if you don't know what is your next step, there is nothing you can do. Just wait until you figure it out. But that was not me. I am very driven and a very ambitious person, a high achiever. I have always been. So it was incredibly challenging for me to step away from trading when things were not working. I needed to do something, something to make it work. And since taking losses was in my mind bringing me further away from my goal, I decided to simply ignore them. Obviously, that was another lie I told myself because the losses were a consequence of my issue, but the real problem was not taking the loss in time when they were still within reason. So when I placed a trade, I thought I'm not going to place a stop order because I don't want to get stopped out and then watch the price go without me. So I decided to use manual stops, which was, by the way, another way to avoid taking losses. And when the time came to take the loss, in my mind, the narrative switched to my second strategy and I started adding size on the way down. You see, the problem was that I didn't really understand the purpose of the stop loss order. I mean, as the name says, stop loss, it stops the loss. But that's not how I looked at it at that time because I was so focused only on making money on a trade and did not accept the risk. Stop was for me like a necessary evil, not something that was actually protecting me. And in a way, it was my own fault because I was scared to lose. And so I would put the order at the level which almost guaranteed to get stopped out. So when I did use them, I tried to lower the risk. And instead of one loss within my risk parameters, I got 1,000 paper cuts, which on a deeper level created a belief that stop orders are not good for me and they are actually hurting my account. So I was ignoring not only the stop loss orders, but the risk in general. And that came from my reluctance to accept losses in the first place, which is crazy if you think about it, because losses are part of the deal in trading. But I was so hopeful that the market would always turn in my favor if I waited long enough. But I can tell you, and I hope you will never have to experience that, sometimes you can wait, but the day never comes. The bottom line is the stop loss orders are your safety net that ensure your losses are controlled and manageable. And ignoring them can lead to catastrophic losses and a heavy mental toll from prolonged exposure to a losing position. Besides eroding your capital, holding on to a loser freezes your capital and you cannot profit from other opportunities, but also it impacts your emotional well being and decision making. So these were the methods I used to salvage losing trades, trying to turn them into profit and avoiding losses altogether. Chasing losses, doubling down, and ignoring stop losses. Even though they seemed like a good idea to me at that time, they were very ineffective. They amplified the losses, increased my emotional distress, and completely derailed my trading. And I was using them all because I didn't want to accept the risk. I was stubborn and living in denial, telling myself lies I wanted to hear. I didn't want to lose. I hoped the market would somehow favor me, and I was confident that I would always win. These emotions clouded my judgment and led me to impulsive decisions, ultimately keeping me away from my trading success. But I didn't know then what I know now. Trading success is not just about making profits. It's about managing risk and maintaining a healthy psychological state. And the reason why traders fall into the pitfalls I talked about today is because most focus on making money. I know it's not easy to focus on the process because you are trading money. So you are constantly confronted with it. So if your focus is on money, at least focus on the money you have, your capital, not the money you want to make. Because your capital means your survival as a trader. Next to your well being, your capital is the most important asset in your trading business. Put it in simple terms, if you have no money to trade with, you cannot make any money trading. Protecting your capital is your responsibility. Take this responsibility seriously, and I assure you it will pay off quicker than everything else you are doing to perfect your trading performance. If you want to have freedom and independence, remember that both of those things go with a high degree of responsibility. And as soon as you take it seriously, you will be able to have what you want. So I hope that by uncovering these ineffective yet very common methods, you will be able to save yourself a lot of time and money, and that you got inspired to begin cultivating a healthier and more professional approach to your trading. If you would like to learn more about how you are sabotaging your trading and what is your narrative that makes you stuck with a losing position and make you make irrational trading decisions, visit my website at aheadcoach.com. You can sign up there for my free trading mindset tips. This is an email series that spans 12 weeks and will guide you through the steps that I took, providing actionable tips to help you find the answers and move forward on your trading journey. There are already hundreds of traders using those tips and they are improving their results on a daily basis. So don't wait, go to my website aheadcoach.com or click on the link in the description. Thank you so much for listening to the Confidence in Trading podcast. If you are enjoying my show, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and tell me what you like about it. Thanks to you, more traders will be able to find me, and together we will make a bigger impact. So thank you for your support. And if you are new to my show, don't forget to subscribe so you can come back for the next episode. And make sure to check out some of the previous shows too. Thank you again for tuning in. This is Agnieszka Wood from Ahead Coach. Bye for now.